What's up and welcome back to another live stream with GizmoSlipTech. So today we're doing a Lenovo YogaBook 9i. This is the world's first, as I know, true dual screen laptop slash ultrabook. This is an incredible, I think, step forward for gaming laptops and laptops in general. I mean, you can't use this for gaming, but of course it's an ultrabook, so the focus is really not gaming, but my channel tends to be heavily performance focused and gaming focused. So we're definitely going to be reviewing this Lenovo Ultrabook from the perspective of a potential gamer who might want to use it for casual games or potentially for game streaming. So we're going to test some of those services as well today. Now, in today's live stream, we're going to, of course, unbox this dual screen notebook. We're going to take a look at everything that comes with it. In the box, we've got a mouse, a stylus, a keyboard, a stand, and then of course the dual screen notebook itself. And one of the biggest questions about this new form factor is, what is the dual screen software look like? How well does it actually work in real life practice? That was the biggest question I had when I saw this at CES and all of the announcements around it. I was like, that could be extremely janky and uncomfortable to use, or it could be awesome, all depending on how the software is integrated and how well it's designed. So we're going to be putting that to test today in a live stream. So you're going to be able to literally see exactly how it works live, ask any questions. Today is going to be all about the YogaBook 9i. We're going to try to answer every possible question that we can about the laptop. Now, I have been using it the last 3 days quite a lot, and I repackaged it all back up. So it's just like how it was when I had it in the box when I first took it out. But I have tested it. I have installed software. I have updated it. And I have kind of gone through and found some of the flaws with it, and I'll be pointing those out today. Now, this live stream is sponsored by Best Buy. So I'm going to be a big shout out and thank you to Best Buy for sponsoring this live stream. And there is a link in the description down below if you want to pick up this laptop. Now, this is the official page for the Lenovo YogaBook 9i, and it is pre-orderable right now. So if you want to, there's a link in the description. You can go buy this or order this right now. If you do use the link in the description, it does help support me as a content creator. But as always, there is no pressure to buy anything that I'm reviewing, including sponsored products, right? So this is a sponsorship from Best Buy directly. I am free to say whatever I want about the Lenovo YogaBook. That is extremely important to me as a content creator. I need to have, I guess, editorial autonomy, and so I can always be honest with you guys about any flaws I see with the product today. So that's what we're going to go through today, and I'll be pointing out the things I noticed during the last couple of days of using it, both the good things and the bad things today. So going over the listing here, we're going to go through all the specs here before we take it out of the box. So let's go ahead and do that now. And also real quick, I'm going to hop over to chat and say hello. I see, what's up, Jones, Deshaun and Martin, Britt Allen, what's up? So this is the Lenovo YogaBook 9i. So yes, the Lenovo YogaBook 9i, it's a 2-in-1. So that means this thing can fold backwards over itself. So you can go in tent mode or just tablet mode. It has two 13.3-inch 2.8K dual screen OLED touch displays. So both the top screen and the bottom screen are touch enabled and pen enabled, and it does come with a stylus pen. Now this comes with a i7 1355U processor, and this is a 10-core, 12-thread processor with 2 performance cores and 8 efficiency cores. So that means this new processor, this 13th gen processor, is one of the latest and greatest ultrabook processors that money can buy, right? So if you're looking for high performance in an ultrabook, this is going to be close to it. Of course, there's always other options out there in the ultrabook category. You've got AMD processors, and you've of course got thin laptops like the Razer Blade 15 that I recently reviewed that have a full-fledged i7 processor in it that have more cores and threads. And so there's a plethora of options out there. But for an Ultrabook processor, this is going to be able to get a lot done. The 2 performance cores will allow really strong single-threaded performance. And then, of course, because it has the 8 efficiency cores, that brings it up to 10 cores, 12 threads total. That's going to really let you do a lot of multitasking and productivity things like video rendering. And of course, the single threaded performance for things like Photoshop is also going to help boost performance because those 2 cores can boost quite high. Now, this comes with 16 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM at 5200. So it's got a fast RAM, and 16 gigs is enough pretty much to handle almost anything you're going to throw at it in Windows, unless you're going to do extremely memory intensive applications, in which case you may want 32 or 64. Now, this unit comes with 512 gigs SSD. It's a Gen 4 SSD, and it costs $19.99. So real quickly, we can look at these pictures here, and we can take a look at, here is the different modes. So you can set this Ultrabook up with the keyboard literally on top of the bottom display. And this sets the bottom area down here into a touchpad mode, which is really cool. It does this all automatically, as you'll see here in a little bit. And this keyboard is a tactile keyboard, and it's wireless. So you can move it around, including separating it from the laptop here. And this is not magically being held up in the air here. There is a stand that is included with the YogaBook 9i, so it can go vertical, top over bottom, and sit on a table vertically like that, so you can have dual display functionalities. Now, in addition, the stand can hold the YogaBook up in portrait mode. So both of the displays are in vertical portrait mode, allowing you to, for example, write a Word document or a research paper on one display while looking at your research sources on the other display, which is just, this thing would have been absolutely incredible back when I was in college. I would have absolutely loved it in college. Now, I personally think that this, I originally thought when I saw this, it was a bit gimmicky. Like I see Massive L says, seems like a gimmick no one will buy. But I think after you watch this live stream, you'll probably actually think, holy crap, that is very versatile. And I personally, after using it here for a few days, I will say that I would love to see a gaming laptop in this style of form factor. Obviously, they're showing some game here. This is not really, I think, an ideal game to even play. This is the Asphalt 9. You can obviously play it on the laptop. I did download it so we can test it out today if you want. But to me, a true gaming laptop experience would be really awesome on this because, for example, I've done a lot of dual screen gaming myself, and I love to have like when I played MMOs, I played Black Desert Online a whole bunch. I loved to watch Netflix or some kind of streaming service while playing the game. And if you have this notebook, this Ultrabook, you can do that. You can have your game up on the top screen, and then like HBO, Netflix, whatever streaming service you want on the bottom screen, and it's awesome. You can, like, it's totally possible that even with this Ultrabook, using game streaming, cloud gaming streaming services. And I'm going to show you that today so you guys can see exactly how that works and all the different functionality that you can have with this device, because it's kind of mind-blowing to me. All right, now, and that's coming from someone that is a traditional laptop gamer, and this thing obviously can't fully replace a gaming laptop in every sense, right? 100%, a gaming laptop has a lot of advantages over this laptop. And we're going to talk about those pros and cons. If you are a gamer, should you consider picking up the Lenovo Yoga 9i, Lenovo YogaBook 9i. And so first of all, obviously this does not have a dedicated GPU. It has an Intel integrated GPU inside of the CPU. And it's not a terrible GPU. You can actually play quite a few legacy games at 60 frames per second, or at least hitting playable frame rates above 30 frames per second very consistently, even in some modern titles, okay? So there is some gaming opportunities using just the onboard integrated graphics. Now, it's not gonna be high resolution, high refresh rate gaming like you would get with a laptop that has a dedicated GPU. But if you use a cloud gaming service like GeForce Now, the PlayStation streaming services, the Microsoft Xbox streaming services, those services do allow you to stream the entire, whole gameplay right to your laptop display without, it's high refresh rate, high graphic settings, and it's very smooth, and it's generally responsive as long as you're not playing a competitive game. Right? If you're just trying to play casual games and that's all you're trying to do, it's responsive enough and smooth enough at 60 frames per second to be able to handle that well enough to truly enjoy gameplay. So, and like I said, we're going to demo that for you today. I am pretty impressed overall with that. And we're also going to test 5 PC games native on the integrated graphics. So it's going to be partially a test to see how far has the 13th gen Ultrabook integrated GPUs come so far. This, in this generation, can you game with them? How much can you game with them? What are the limitations of gaming on an Ultrabook without a dedicated GPU? And then, of course, a little bit of a test of cloud gaming. We'll test, like, I don't know, one game like Cyberpunk or something. And then, of course, we're going to do our display test. We're going to do a display test both OLED displays. We're going to do a camera test. This has a 5 megapixel infrared camera with Windows Hello. And so we're going to go through and test the webcam. And then we're going to do a speaker test as well. This has a 4-speaker system on it. And it's a sound bar that rotates with you depending on how you have the laptop oriented. So there's a lot of things we got in today's live stream. I hope you enjoyed the live stream today. And without further ado, let's get into the unboxing. All right. And also, I'm going to just check chat real quick and see if you guys have any questions. All right. Britt Allen says coders will buy this. Well, I think more than just coders will be interested in this laptop. I think a lot of people that want to multitask are really going to be who want to buy this laptop, right? Because, like I said, not some gamers, they want to be focused entirely on the game. They don't want to stream something else on a secondary display. But plenty of us gamers are super interested in streaming like another stream of the same game. Will we play that game, or following something, or listening to a podcast, or watching some kind of Netflix show or whatever while we game? And like, especially if you're a grinder type of a gamer, right? If you're a grinder, if you play grindy games, then sometimes you just play for hours and hours and you just kind of want to kill time. And this is a phenomenal system for killing time with those kinds of grindy games. So there are definitely some gamers out there that could truly benefit from this type of experience of a dual screen. All right, so here we are. We've got the Lenovo Yoga logo here at the top, Lenovo here as well. Got some spec stats here on the front. See if I can get it to focus for us. There we go. So PureSight 2.8K OLED displays. So they're both really high resolution displays. So more than 2560 by 1600. And they are 16 by 10 aspect ratio. So two 16 by 10 aspect ratio displays. Touchscreen with Windows 11. So this utilizes a lot of the new touch features of Windows 11. I'll show you some of those. There's quite a few really interesting integrations to make the dual screen functionality just really seamless and function way better than you would think a traditional dual screen works. And these would also work on, say, dual monitors. A lot of these features would work on dual monitors, but also some of these features are specific to the Yoga Book and from the Lenovo software suite, where they added the ability, for example, to extend an Internet Explorer page from the top to the bottom. And it really enhances your ability to like browse the web, having it go across both screens. It's kind of mind blowing in a way. Obviously, It's not totally game changing in the sense for just browsing the web, but it is nice. And I think it's a nice improvement to a web browsing experience, having it just be so huge. It's like a giant newspaper in front of you. Okay, so there are 4 speakers and a 5 megapixel IR camera. On the back here, we've got a little bit more information about the laptop itself. So we've got the i7-1355U, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD, and 13.3 inch 2.8K OLED. And we got Windows 11 Home on here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take this sleeve off. Bring the light down here and take this back. There we go. All right. Britt Allen says XE, correct. The integrated graphics in this is an Intel XE graphics card. So it is the more powerful of the integrated GPUs. All right, so this opens up just like this. All right, and we've got this little cover here. We'll take that back. Here is the laptop. It is in a like kind of a wrapping. Let's take out the power adapter first. So this is a entirely USB-C and Thunderbolt 4 Ultrabook. It is has 3 Thunderbolt 4s on it with no additional ports or anything. So as far as I know, we'll double check. But I don't think, does this have a headphone port? We'll have to double check. But I'll have to check if it has a headphone port. Either way, this is a USB-C power adapter here. Let's go ahead and open this up. I'm not sure how many watts this is. So right there, it says it is a 65 watt. So you can see it's a Lenovo 65 watt power adapter, and it's obviously going to be very portable from a power adapter perspective. Let's go ahead and see how long this guy is. I don't think this cable is particularly long. I think it's going to be about 5-6 feet long here. Yeah, so it's about 6 feet long, which is a bit short in my opinion for a power cable. You know, it's because it's a dedicated power cable with nothing, like no like secondary cable coming off of it. But that means that it may be a little bit harder for you to reach the wall outlet. And of course you can always get another USB-C like 100-watt charging cable or something that's longer, and you'll be able to plug that in from a longer distance. So it's not like these are very expensive. You can definitely get another power adapter if you need to, but I did struggle to plug this thing in even just in some of my use in the last few days. Plugging it in by the table, I had to extend the cable, and it was basically like almost tight to the laptop, which is not great. So depending on how far away your outlet is, this may be a little bit short for you. You might want to invest in another cable. Unfortunately, this is integrated. This end is integrated directly into the adapter, so you cannot just switch this out for another cable. You're gonna have to actually get another charger with a longer cable to attach to it. They're not super expensive, but it's still something to keep in mind. I just want to point that out. So. All right, so that is plugged in now. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the laptop. So this has a wrapping around it. Let's go ahead and peel this back. Dun, dun, dun. So as you can see, it is going to be very portable. The bottom wedge, the lower wedge, is a little bit thicker than the top wedge. I don't know if you can see that, but basically this part right here, this lower wedge right here, especially at the back, is about twice as thick as the top display. But overall, this is going to be a very portable, easy to take with you laptop. And yeah, it does not have any headphone port on this guy anywhere. It is just the power button here, the webcam privacy shutter, power button, webcam privacy shutter, 2 Thunderbolt 4 USBs right there. So 2 Thunderbolt 4 USBs on the right side. And then on the left side, we've got a third Thunderbolt 4 USB-C. And you can charge it on either side of the laptop. You don't have to be plugged in to any specific side. As far as I'm aware, it was working for me on either side. So that is nice regarding the power adapter length. Did make it a little bit easier to actually utilize that. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and open it up, give you a quick look at the dual displays, and then we'll move on to the rest of the laptop. So this does have a bit of a lip, but notice that you can't just lift this up very easily. It takes, like, you can almost do one finger lift, but it's not quite a single finger lift off. And you can see I've got, yeah, I'm kind of, the laptop was actually in sleep mode in the box there because I just packed it up a moment ago. I want to point out they have a lot of additional hot features or quick features here. So let's look at this little sheet real quick. So these are some features that Lenovo and Microsoft use basically to figure out how to optimize the user experience with 2 full displays on the laptop. So you can set the keyboard. There's a separate physical keyboard that you can set up and type tactilely on the laptop itself. You set that on the upper half, and the bottom half becomes a touchpad. If you set it on the lower half, then the upper half of the screen becomes a secondary display. But it's just half of the bottom is the display. If you tap with 8 fingers at once, so 4 fingers on each hand, if you tap with 8 fingers at once, it brings up a virtual keyboard. And if you tap with 3 fingers at once, it brings up a virtual touchpad. And the touchpad works surprisingly well. We'll show you that in addition here, okay? So we'll show you that very soon. All right, we're gonna close that up for right now, and we're gonna take a look at the rest of the laptop box contents here. So let me just set this back here a little bit. All right, so here is the first container. Let's see what's in here. I actually don't remember the exact order. Everything is in here. So this is the keyboard case / stand. All right, so this can fold. This has magnets in it. It can fold and it snaps together. All right. This forms a keyboard stand that you can put the laptop into. It's extremely quick and easy to set up. You just flip it out, close it, and it's ready to have the laptop inserted right inside of there. We'll show you how all of that works here in a moment. It is magnetic, so it all snaps together or is like wedged together really nicely with the keyboard. All right, so here in this box is the keyboard itself. The keyboard layout, I do like the keyboard layout overall. The secondary functions here along the top are the primary functions. So if you use the volume up, down, brightness up, down, all of these, they are the primary key press. You actually have to press FN plus like F2, F3 in order to access the secondary FN functions. And that's the way I have it set up on my Razer. That's the way I like to have it set up in general on these keyboards because it's just so much easier to turn the brightness up and down the keyboard. Just less clicks, less worries because I'm adjusting the volume and brightness of the display quite a bit more often than I am pressing the FN keys, in my opinion. So that's the keyboard. It's very thin, very light overall, and it is magnetic on the back here with little rubber feet, and this will snap onto the laptop. So that way it's very sturdy and stationary on there. All right, and that is that. Here is the last box. So this has the stylus, and this is a battery-powered stylus. I'm guessing you're gonna have to occasionally replace the battery on it, but it is pressure sensitive and very precise. All right, so there are a lot of different applications you can use with this if you need to do drawing, or like, for example, you want to watch something at the top and then draw, or have your image that you're drawing on the top display and draw on the secondary display. You can totally do that, and it works really well. We're going to show you using, I'm going to use the Stylus for you today, so you can check out and see the pressure sensitivity and all of that as well. So there is just, I think there's tremendous value, I guess, in the laptop package, simply because it includes the keyboard, it includes the kicks, you know, like the stand that sets it up, it includes the stylus, you know, and if you were to buy a lot of other tablets like the Surface, the iPad, whatever, all of those are usually extra. To buy these accessories, to get these accessories, you're going to spend hundreds of dollars extra to get the keyboard, to get the stylus, and it's included out of the box. And in addition to these accessories, you also get a fancy schmancy Bluetooth mouse. So this Bluetooth mouse was also in the box that came with it. And so all of these accessories are included for the $2,000 price point, which is obviously, $2,000 is obviously expensive, but this is also an extremely innovative product. And I'm not saying that it's definitely worth it for everybody, but for someone who thinks they're going to use the dual screen functionality, there's a lot of value in that. And you'll see as we get to using this thing, I'm very impressed overall with the software and the way it's all integrated. And I'm excited to show it to you. Let's dive into the next segment. So let's get this set up and show you the different layouts that you can have. So this bottom back of the keyboard here magnetically attaches to this, and it's, so you can see it actually lifts up. It's very strong magnet, so it feels very sturdy, like it's part of the stand here, which I really like that. And then the laptop itself, right? So we're gonna open this up, and let me zoom out a little bit and tilt it up. All right, so it just went ahead and detected with my face with Windows Hello. You just set it right in there, and then look at how sturdy this is. All right, I can literally just press. I can basically just kind of press on it and make adjustments to this. The stand, of course, is, you kind of got to hold it a little bit, but just because of the weight, the heft here. But this hinge up here is extremely sturdy. Like I can have it, it's just like sitting there, like stable. Like this hinge is one of the most stable hinges I have seen. And so when you've got it set up like this, and you're using it in like touch mode, and this, say you're using it in touch mode, and you want to expand this, right? So you do a 5-finger tap, and it just expands it across the whole thing, just like that. So a 5-finger tap, it brings it up. If you wanted to move this window up here down to over here, it's quite simple. All you have to do is come down here and click on the thing on that window. So like you click on the start menu icon on the window you want it to move to. I hope that makes sense. It's, so like when I click on the Internet Explorer icon at the bottom, it'll jump the window down to the bottom. If I want to move this window down to here, all I have to do is click on it down here. It hops down to here. So if you've got the top window covered up, or you're in a full screen streaming on one screen, you can easily move windows that are behind that screen to the top or to the bottom, depending on what you need for it to be. All right, so, and then let's go ahead and show you how the keyboard and trackpad work. So that's one of the key features they've added here. Another key feature is using 3 fingers. You tap, it creates a touchpad wherever you tap. All right, so now I've got this touchpad. I can move it around. Let me go ahead and just kind of zoom in a little bit more for you guys. So I can move it around. I can resize the touchpad to be bigger. I can resize it to be smaller. I can have it be over top of the Windows Start menu. So it's truly in the corner here. So if I did not have an external mouse and I just had the keyboard here, I could just be using the mouse just like this to click, to move around. It makes it very easy, and it clicks and taps just like a normal mouse, like a normal touchpad, trackpad. So it makes it so that, like, I don't know how you feel, I guess it feels multifunctional in a way that almost all other laptops of this nature are not. And then you want to get rid of it, boom, you've got a full screen again. When you got an external keyboard, when you have an external mouse and keyboard, you can just get rid of it or add it back at will. I love that. It's so convenient, and it makes it so that you feel like you don't have to use just your finger to do touch tap commands, which is a great place to be, in my opinion. I do kind of wish that this had like a headphone port for people that want headphones, but at the same time, I can kind of understand why they wouldn't want to include it, because when you've got a laptop set up on a stand like this and someone takes that headphone cable, it's going to knock everything over. So I can kind of understand why they would probably don't want to put one there. Plus, then they managed to get 3 USB-C Thunderbolt 4 ports up here. So there is obviously USB-C headphones out there as well. So you could just use one of those and plug directly in if you don't have a hub and you just want something that's wired in. But yeah, anyway, so this right here in the center, this is your speaker soundbar. So let's go ahead and do an audio test next. All right, so for this audio test, I have got our sound decibel meter today. All right, so we're gonna set this up right in front. It's so wild having so much screen real estate. It's just, for me, it's insane. It's a bit overwhelming because it's an Ultrabook, and yet I feel like I have more screen real estate for working than I do on my Blade 18, which has a huge 18-inch display. You can see it over here on the left. It's at least more functional. And in terms of actual screen real estate, it actually probably is more square inch total than the Razer Blade. So it makes it so functional, and I guess for me, it makes it so that this laptop can be one of the best productivity laptops I've ever seen. Anyway, okay, so moving on, we're gonna do Peter Spacey Roar first, and we're also gonna open Dolby Atmos. Let's see here. I guess I gotta turn this on. There we go. Is it Dolby Access? Dolby Access. Okay. Okay, so this has the same software that Lenovo laptops typically have for changing your EQ, and I have messed with these audio settings quite a bit. I found dynamic to be the best overall, but if you want a specific sound, you can always do game, movie, music, or voice or something if you think it's going to be better. But dynamic seemed the loudest, and that's the way it's been on most of the other laptops that I've been on as well. What's up, Mars? LSP says speakers have to be good on this laptop since people will use this outside a lot. Yeah, I do agree. This is going to be used outside. This is going to be used in your lap. This is going to be used on the go all the time. And yeah, the speakers are quite good in my opinion. Let's move on. I got someone at the door, so we're gonna have to I'll be right back, and then we'll do this test because I can't have the dogs barking. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. All right, so this is going to be Peter Spacey Roar to start with, but we're also going to have our decibel sound meter that you'll be able to see how loud it gets at the same time. I'm trying to turn it so you can see it a little better. Okay, that should be pretty good, yeah? All right. Beautiful. Okay, so you can see that right now, when I'm talking quite loud, it's about 80 decibels or so. And I'm gonna be quiet for a moment. The room ambient noise is about 42 decibels. Okay, so this is Peter Spacey Roar. Audio set to max. Let's go ahead and see what it sounds like. Okay, so this thing clearly has a good amount of bass. It's got moderately clear mids and highs. It's not super, super loud, but it's very loud for an Ultrabook in terms of speaker quality and overall volume. Clearly quite nice. First impression. Let's move on to Faded Aeon and see those mids and highs. Very nice overall. Not quite perfect, but it's pretty dang close. All right. This is La 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 Love You by Deuce Williams. So again, the vocals are sounding quite good. The mids are there. You got a punchy little like unk to the bass. Overall, I am very impressed with the speaker system. I think it's around like an 8.9 probably, maybe a 9. Not quite. Like it's not. I don't think it's quite as good as like the Blade 18, the Blade 16. Not quite as good as something. Not quite as good as like Apple's music speakers, but it's pretty dang awesome for a thin and light notebook. And I love the fact that the speakers are essentially omnidirectional, because this speaker bar right here, as I'm going to show you this real quick too. So this speaker bar, as you move it around, right? So I'm just going to grab the laptop here. As you move this around, right? So you can rotate this thing. All right. As you move it around, and say you're watching something, you got the speakers right here. And so when it's on the desk here, they're still firing. The speakers are still firing towards you. If you're on you want to watch it like a movie, you can flip it upside down and have the speakers facing upwards, but still facing roughly towards you. If you're in presentation mode, like trying to present to someone else, you could have like a PowerPoint where you control the PowerPoint on the left side here, and then on the back side, you can show the PowerPoint on this side. There's all kinds of potential ways you could use this setup. But definitely one of the best potential ways is in a traditional laptop form factor where you're like this. All right. So we've got the Steam up there in the top. I tap with 8 fingers and boom, it's turned into a more traditional laptop interface. So I can use the start button there. I can browse around. I can click on stuff. I can use this just like 2-finger scrolling, or of course I can click up here to 2-finger scroll. And I want to get rid of this. I can press the X button here in the top right. It closes that down. And now we've got a back to traditional 2 screens again. If I want to, I can bring this up. I can have a touchpad right here. I can expand this with a 5-finger tap. Now I can scroll across both of the screens. Like, it's really, really cool to me. But most importantly, I love the way that Windows integrated all of the different browser options here now, or like I guess window options, right? So you can hover over the expand button now in Windows, and this allows you to basically select where you want the window to go. So you click that one, and it'll split the screen between 2 windows. You can set it to be in 1/4 of the display. You can set, like the media player to be on this side, and you could set your Office to be in the lower right side, whatever you want it to be in the different windows. But you have you can separate them into quarters. You can separate them into halves now. You can separate them to quickly jump between the 2 screens. Again, by clicking on the Windows Start icon, you can make things jump between these 2 screens easily, quickly, and on the fly, which I'm loving that. Like, it's so cool to me for multitasking and productivity purposes. So anyway, so that's kind of everything I think you probably need to know about window management and overall. I'm loving what Lenovo did with the software. Let me show you something else that's really important. A lot of you are very curious about this part. So what happens when you set the keyboard up here on this? So notice that it's synced down onto the keyboard right here. Onto the bottom shell. And notice that it automatically turned into a touchpad down here on the bottom. All right. So if I lift this off, it expands into a full display again. I set this down. It switches it right here into a keyboard. So this area right here is not active anymore. So you can put your wrists on the display here, and now you can start typing or using the keyboard just like a normal laptop. So now I can start typing on the keyboard just like a normal Ultrabook. So if you're on an airplane or you're in like a train or something and you can't, you don't want to use the whole stand to make it double tall, you can just use it like a normal Ultrabook, and it feels not quite as solid as a normal Ultrabook because this is only magnetically attached, right? But overall, it does feel quite good for like quickly switching between the modes. You just lift this thing off, set this back into here, drop the keyboard right back on, and shabam, we're back into double tablet mode. And you want to set this back to the way it was. You just grab this, grab the keyboard off of the stand, set it right back on top, and now we're back into laptop mode. It's so quick, and it's all so seamless in my experience. Like, so far, I've had not quite no bugs, but almost no bugs in terms of quickly switching between the different modes. And that's largely why I am really liking this from a usability and functionality side of things. So yeah. Ibrahim wants to know, what GPU does this have? This has the Intel Xe, which is the integrated GPU inside of the Intel CPU. So it's not a gaming focused machine, but I would love to see a gaming focused version of this, say with like an RTX, up to an RTX 4070 or something similar, up RTX 4050, 4060, 4070, like with a 45 or 50 watt cooling capacity and a slightly thicker version of this machine that has ability to be extended on a stand. I would love that. Like that would be something that I would potentially be interested in actually using as my main laptop, even if it wasn't quite as powerful as a 4080, 4090. It would give me awesome functionality for when I'm on the road. Like I think it has tremendous potential. So I had the brightness down set really low because it was kind of blowing out the camera. And notice that I can just adjust this on the fly with the keyboard shortcut here. Yeah, so going over the keyboard, let's go ahead and show you the keyboard in depth. One of the biggest downsides, in my opinion, for this keyboard is the fact that it does not have backlight illumination. There is no backlight to it. I'm guessing for battery life purposes, because this is an entirely wireless keyboard, there is no backlight. And I think that's going to be a bummer for some people. I would prefer it if it had a backlight. There's a volume mute button, volume down, volume up, microphone mute, brightness down, brightness up, display, so monitor display adjustments. So if you want to switch from extended mode to dual mode or duplicate mode, you can do that. Windows settings button, Windows lock, disabling or enabling the touchpad, which is kind of, I guess it pops up, open the touch, it popped open this touchpad right here. So you can kind of, I guess, request it to open up if you want it to open up with that button, which some people would like that. Let's see here. What does this do? This opens so that button opens basically the lower keyboard top panels here. I believe you can set these to pop up with different applications. But when I press the F11 key, this is what pops up. So you can have your email pop up and like the news, for example, are two options that you can have pop up there. And then here is the window. F12 brings up the user center. This goes over all the different ways that you can use the laptop in the different productivity modes. So you've got dual screen interaction. So they have meeting notes. So you could have like a Zoom call, you can have a Zoom call or something at the top here, taking notes down below. You could obviously write with a pen as well if you wanted to have the keyboard attached. There is study mode, so you can have your research, your Word document on the right, and you have your keyboard. So just to demo that type of mode, if we were to, all we have to do is go like this, and bam, we are now in portrait mode. So very easy to swap over into it. And I love this. Like, this would be amazing if you're a college student. Like, mind-blowing productivity also for work people that need multiple screens. And this is why I would love to have this in a gaming laptop form factor, because I mean, I love to game, but I also need to be productive too. And I do a lot of spreadsheet work with the gaming laptop list, and I do emails, and I do, sometimes I have to do multiple screens, and it really can help me having multiple screens. And that's partially why I love having an 18-inch display on my Blade, so I can easily split screen stuff. But this is even better because I can split screen stuff within two 13-inch windows, and it's really great for productivity. Anyway, there's mobility mode, where you have the keyboard up on top of the lower screen. And there's collaboration mode and entertainment mode, where you can, this is where some of the gaming features and functionality of dual displays really are not being taken advantage of, right? Because there's very few dual display laptops out there at this time. So there's only a handful of games that have developed for them. Asphalt 9 is one of the games, and I figure I can show you that coming up here. So for features, this allows you to quickly see like a tutorial on the different functionality that Lenovo and Microsoft have put into this laptop. We've got Windows management. So this talks about how you can drag the different laptops. Let's see, can I bring it down here? Let me just bring this down here. Okay, so drag window to set layout. So it shows you that you can drag the window down into a little icon. You've got focus click. This is a feature you can turn off or turn off, turn off or turn on. And this is where you click on the start bar to make it happen. Dual screen window layout, where you split screen. I already showed you all this. Windows flick, where you flick the window down or up to make it minimize. And this is one of the ones that I had a little bit of trouble with. Let's see if I can get it to work. I'm not sure. Let's see. See, like I tried flicking it down. There it goes. Wait, not quite. It didn't quite do it. So yeah. So I don't know. When the Windows flick thing is not working, it could be, do I have to enable it in the settings here? Oh yeah. So I do have to enable it in the settings. Let's see if I can get it to, it's not working. There it goes. Okay, finally. There we go. Nice. Okay, so we got it working. Overall, I like the ability to just tap on the start bar to switch windows. I think that's probably the way I would do it. But overall, it's obviously gonna work doing the flick most of the time once you get used to it. Cross-screen browsing is by extending that window across both of the windows. So I can show you that again here. So I'm just going to move this window up to the top here. And I'm going to tap with 5 fingers. It extends it all the way across both screens. And now we're good to go. Overall, I really like the functionality of this. And I would just love to see a gaming laptop with this form factor and style. So let's move into, we've done our speaker test. We need to do our display test. We need to do Cinebench, and we need to do Timespy, and then we need to do some games. So I feel like I've done a good job showing you the laptop features and functionality of how all the windows work. But yeah, let's go ahead and move into the next phase here. So we're going to do our display test next. Let's go ahead and pull up the Spyder software. Oh, now that I think about it, this is one of the downsides. So my Spyder 5 right here only has a USB-A. We need to get a USB-C to USB-A. Or use one of my docks. I'll be right back. All right, so we're going to use one of my Thunderbolt hubs here. Let's go ahead and see. I have to plug this guy in. Otherwise, you know, we wouldn't be able to plug in the Spyder 5 Elite, which we're going to need to do. So, this will take just a moment to get plugged in. Right. Bingo, and plug this into here. All right, and this dock is actually it should let me power the laptop. It does, and we can also plug in now our Spyder 5 Elite. So now that gives me the ability to power the laptop and have a USB hub all in one. And that should provide full power for the whole system using a Thunderbolt dock like this. So I got it. I got to pull up the code here to get logged into Spyder 5 Elite software. 1 second. All right. There we go. All right, so we're going to find out how colorful and bright these two OLED displays are. I have high hopes. I'm hoping they're at least they should be at least 400 nits brightness, I would think, but we'll have to see. Let's go ahead and make sure we're at 100% brightness. It's going to kind of tilt it back. You can really see how you can tilt this top display back really far and everything is still very stable on the stand. I really love how they designed this stand to be so stable. Definitely one of the best features of this laptop is the overall like thoughtfulness that Lenovo had when they designed this product. So right now we're measuring the color gamut on the top display. Bryn Allen asked, is the XE equal to a GTX 1060? No. The XE is equal, I don't know. It's about, the XE was about 1600 in Timespy when I tested it before. So maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. So it's not going to be equal to a 1060. I think 1060, what does like 4,000 or something? 3 or 4,000, depending on the 1060. So, all right. So yeah, like a 1060 would be like more than double, as I understand it. All right, so we're doing the lowest brightness first. It's testing the contrast right now and the color gamut. Or sorry, just the contrast right now. We're doing 25% brightness now. I would invite you guys to also like the live stream if you're enjoying this while we're waiting. If you're enjoying this interesting take on this dual screen laptop, please let me know. If you enjoy it, hit that like button. Now, I want to mention one of the issues that I had with the laptop while we were doing this brightness test. I had a problem with the speakers audio popping a little bit, but only when I was downloading Steam games. So when the Steam games were downloading at full tilt, for some reason it caused these Bowers and Wilkins speakers to have a slight audio crackle or pop. And I don't know why. It's just, it is what it is. And yeah, so just wanted to point it out that, I don't know if you're using Wi-Fi at maximum speed or something's going on with the speakers. Now, I don't know if it's a driver issue, they need to fix that or update it or something, but that was one of the issues that I had bumped into. Okay, wow. So taking a look at the results for display test 1, we got 100% of sRGB. 100% sRGB, 97% Adobe RGB, 94% of the P3 color gamut. And keep in mind that my Spyder 5 Elite tends to underestimate by a few percent, like usually 6 to 8% in that range. This means that we're basically a 100% P3 color gamut, 100% Adobe RGB with this display. That is awesome to see. Our brightness level, we are goes all the way down to 1 nit, less than 1 nit, 0.9 nits, with 870 to 1 contrast. And at the high end, the highest brightness, we got 374. So we didn't quite break 400, but I gotta say this display seems brighter than that to me, because when I'm using it, it seems so punchy and so easy to see. So, and I know this might have adaptive display brightness, and the fact that I'm in a darker room right now might mean that it's not putting out 100% of the possible brightness. Maybe I got to shine a bright light into this and we'll get a brighter brightness test. I'm actually curious about that. I kind of want to test it one more time just to verify. Let's go ahead and do it one more time. I'm going to shine a brighter light right into that. Right into the ambient light sensor up there and see if we get a brighter result this time. But basically the first test, we got 375 nits brightness, which obviously it's very bright and good, but not, I wouldn't say it's excellent for an OLED display. An OLED display usually can get brighter. That said, OLED displays sometimes have limitations with how bright it can get across the whole display, but it might be able to get much brighter in like specific areas of the display, like in a smaller area of the display at once. So we're just going to set this to 100% brightness. And we're just going to measure everything. We also, I believe, this is an HDR display, and that might also affect how bright it comes across during the display test. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Joshua asks, can you game on this though? Yes, you totally can game on this. I'm going to show you what it's like to game on it, but you primarily are going to game on this using cloud gaming, unless you're doing older games or very low demand games. In terms of like this, for example, we're going to try running Cyberpunk. We're going to try running Dying Light 2, and we're going to try running some of the modern games, but only on low settings and at lower resolutions. And then we're also going to show you the cloud gaming and show you how it is when you're streaming games to the Ultrabook. And I actually, in some ways, I like the idea of streaming games. If you're just playing casual games, you obviously can't play competitive multiplayer games on this anyway, and be very competitive because it's only a 60 hertz display. But yeah. So we still got 376 nits pointing the lights at the display sensor. Let's try. It says use HDR. Let's try turning on HDR. So HDR is now enabled. Let's go ahead and try testing it one more time to see if that affected the brightness. I don't know that it will. It probably won't, but let's find out. I think anyone that's very interested in this laptop is going to really want to know this, because it's such an important aspect of owning a laptop like this. LSP says this laptop has 2 screens, so it should be able to use one of the 2 screens to walkthrough or Discord, probably even stream sniping, since it's able to use it as as if this is the ROG Zephyrus Duo. Yeah, so I really love, for certain gamers, this is going to be absolutely incredible. So like I played Black Desert Online as my primary game for about a year and a half. And I racked up like a few thousand hours in that game. All of my AFK time included, like 5,000 hours. I don't know, probably like 1,000 hours active over the course of like a couple of years. And many hours of that game time, I was watching Netflix like on my phone next to my laptop while I played. So, you know, I had to look down at a small screen and I'd look up at the game, and I'd look down at a small screen, like, and I'd look up at the game, because you're grinding, you're kind of half paying attention to the game, half paying attention to your stream. And it's just not as good of an experience. But using a service like Steam Gaming, where you can do remote play from your PC to this, or you can use GeForce Now or like Xbox streaming, all of those are going to work really well to basically let you stream high quality gameplay on the top. As long as you have a good internet connection, you can stream high quality gameplay along the top, and like some kind of show or TV show along the bottom. And that is, if you're a casual gamer, that is awesome. All right, so in HDR mode, we got 368. So we actually got a little bit less in HDR mode. Now, that is very interesting. I swear, these displays though are really good. The contrast ratio, the brightness, the color gamut, they look phenomenal and just awesome. Now let's try doing the lower display. You know, pretty much OLED is the king of laptop display quality, and that's true for this laptop as well. Interesting. So when I'm doing the display test, it is jumping to the top display. So in this scenario, in order to get it to display on the bottom, I probably need to change it to second screen only. So I just pressed the F7 key, and it brought it down to this display only. Now, display settings reminder, Lenovo here have set up a reminder for how the laptop, they basically have a default display settings, which allows you to easily restore to the dual display mode at the click of a button. So if you want to restore default settings to have both displays being shown, you can just click that restore default settings. You could also just, for now, I believe, just click to ignore this or hit retain modifications. Or you can say, don't remind me until restarting, and then it'll kick back and change it back to how it was when you restart the laptop again, which is nice, because maybe you switched it all up and now it's like incorrect and it's oriented incorrectly or whatever. Being able to quickly restore default settings on a restart or with a touch of a button is nice. I do like that. Okay, so we're just gonna click the X for now, and we're gonna bring this down, and we're gonna do our test on the secondary display. And for this one, I might need to hold it. I guess I can tilt this down. There we go. There we go. All right. So we're going to go ahead and, yeah, we're at maximum brightness level. So we're doing the test now. Okay. ARP says those screens are rated HDR 500 and should reach 500 nits if I'm not wrong. So I totally believe you, ARP. They feel like 500 nit displays totally to me. Like I'm not like they feel brighter than my Razer Blade, which is like a 550 nit display. But my display testing tool is not finding them to be as bright as that right now. So, and that there's a lot of different reasons why that might be the case. But most likely is that the displays are probably capable of actually reaching that brightness level, but so it can probably reach 500 nits brightness, but because of software right now and the way it's being tested, or maybe the tool that's testing it, it's not actually getting to that brightness level. Like I said, a lot of OLED displays will wait to boost their display to the brightest levels until it detects that like you're in sunlight. And that's when it like over boosts the display to the maximum possible brightness level. And then you'll be able to see it better in sunlight. But if it were to constantly run at that super high brightness level, it would burn in the display or potentially cause damage if it was that way 24/7. So like some OLED displays, basically, I'm not saying it'll do that for here. I'm not saying if you use this in the sun all the time, it's going to damage it or not, but just some OLED displays do not show the full brightness of the display unless the display is in the sun. Like it detects it through like an ambient light sensor. So it's something to keep in mind that might be why it's not testing as bright as it is claimed. If they are supposed to be HDR 500. Also, mini HDR OLED displays might only reach the maximum 500 nits brightness if the display is actually white only in a small area, say like a 1 inch by 1 inch square or something. And this is bigger than that. So that might be another reason why it's not reaching the 500 nits brightness. If it's showing like right now we've got like multiple, white squares, like mini square inches that are being shown as white during this test for the brightness test. So that is honestly, that could be the more likely reason in terms of why it's not reaching the 500 nits brightness. If we just had a little white box in the center here, and that was the only part that was white, on an OLED display, it would get much brighter. And that's just due to the nature of how OLEDs work. It disperses the brightness across the whole display to some extent on the OLED displays. So, because basically the backlight is, they're not all individually lit pixels. Like the backlight is basically spread out and the power across the screen is spread out basically. Okay, so our display stats for our second display, 100% of sRGB, 98 of Adobe RGB, 95% of the P3 color gamut, and for brightness and contrast, we got 377.5 nits and 377,000 contrast to 1. That is insane levels of contrast and basically the same display stats we saw on the top display, only 2.5 nits brighter here on the lower display. Overall, obviously, super, just like absolutely excellent display quality. If I had criticisms from a gamer's perspective, it would definitely be that these displays are not 90 hertz refresh rate or higher. So I would love to see 90 hertz refresh rate displays. We know that there are 90 hertz refresh rate OLEDs with this same resolution and size, or a very similar size, because we do have some of those in some of the other gaming laptops this year, some OLED 90 hertz displays. And then in addition, I would love to see a dedicated GPU from a gaming perspective. That would just be awesome, like an RTX 4050, 4060, 4070. Okay. Wow. So from a content consumption perspective, the displays are basically as good as they can get from a laptop perspective. From a video game perspective, they're going to be awesome for casual games. They're going to have very fast response rate because they're OLED, but they're not going to be super smooth gameplay because it's only 60 hertz refresh rate. Like it's going to be smooth, but not as buttery smooth as like 120 hertz or higher or 90 hertz or higher display. So it's time for our Cinebench test. We're going to see how much performance this i7-1355U processor with 10 cores, 13 threads can put out. I am very curious to see. We're going to pull up HW info. We're going to see the wattage. We're going to check out the temperatures. Before we get into this, we do need to check out the Lenovo Vantage software so you understand the system controls and make sure that we are in high performance mode as well. So let me go ahead and just kind of set the Spyder 5 Elite off to the side here and out of the way. Beautiful. All right, and we're going to reposition this a little bit so we can get it lined up. And let me try bringing this Lenovo window down to the bottom here, just with a click. I just clicked on the start bar, Lenovo icon, and it popped right down to the bottom. which is just, it's, like I said, it's really cool. All right, we're going to reduce our screen brightness down to like 50%, 60%. And we're going to go over the Lenovo Vantage software. So this is the Lenovo YogaBook 9i. System information is good. We are up to date on our security. This does have McAfee. It does come with that. I am not a fan of McAfee personally, just because I hate getting pop-ups and having software on my system that can potentially slow down or hinder performance. So I usually remove any kind of antiviruses. So let's just, oh, and when we remove this, it's going to make us restart our system, I believe. So let's go ahead and uninstall these real quick. And I'm just going to remove everything. There we go. So I do this because this could, having McAfee on the system could negatively impact our CPU performance in this benchmark. I usually remove this beforehand, but I wanted to show you guys in the live stream that this comes with a little bit of bloatware and you might want to remove it. So that's basically why I'm showing this. Anyway, so let's see if we need to restart this. Let's go and go over this Lenovo Vantage software. All right. So on this homepage, they kind of had some ads on here. I did not love that. I wish, the traditional Lenovo Vantage software does not have any ads as far as I remember, on the gaming laptops, like the Legion laptops. And I'm not a huge fan of this. Like, I wish it was cleaner. All right. McAfee right here. We got 10% off this, whatever. Like, come on, just give us our system controls and all of that. Now, if you want to control something on the system, you got to go to the dashboard button up here. This is technically the dashboard, but you actually need to go down here and go to the dashboard and go to the device section here. And you can go to, like, for example, power. This is where you can adjust your battery capacity target. You can enable and disable rapid charge. You've got overnight battery charging, so it only tops it up right before you use the laptop all the way to 100%, which can help your battery longevity because you don't want to keep the laptop at 100% all the time. Otherwise, it can damage your lithium-ion battery. So this is nice. You can do conservation mode, which keeps it only to 75-80% capacity if you want to make it last longer. In terms of if you want to keep this laptop for 10 years, and you want your battery to be decent, you definitely want to keep it to 75-80% at the most on average during the course of the laptop life. Now, performance for this is controlled right here in Lenovo software. You go down to power here in the smart settings, and then you scroll down a little bit, and there are power and performance settings. You've got intelligent cooling, battery saving, or extreme performance. We are going to be doing all of our benchmarks and testing in extreme performance mode today to give us the most possible performance. Now, in general, this thing is very quiet. The fans can spin up just a little bit, and the fans exhaust are right here along the top near the speaker bar. So you don't really feel any fan noise. You don't really hear much fan noise. Typically, maybe if you were in a dead quiet room, you would hear the fans a little bit, but it is pretty minor overall. Interesting. Flip to start enables you to turn on your computer when you open the computer lid, same as pressing the power button. Interesting. I would probably turn that off. I am going to turn that off right now, but that is very interesting. Always on USB allows the USB connections to be enabled for charging when the laptop is turned off or asleep. When the computer is in sleep, hibernation, or off mode. So if you're looking to charge your smartphone from this laptop battery, when the laptop's off, you can keep this on and you'll be able to plug in your USB-C. There's a Lenovo Vantage toolbar. Thankfully, this is disabled, so you don't have to use this. By default, there's also a Lenovo battery widget, which you can turn on and off right here. I am glad, again, it's disabled by default. I appreciate that Lenovo, for the most part, keeps all of the stuff out of the way. Now, under audio, this is your Dolby audio that we changed in the system. You can change it here as well. We have it set to dynamic, There's also microphone. You can disable and enable, and your Microsoft microphone volume pickup. The display settings are pretty interesting and pretty advanced actually in here. You've got eye care mode for reducing your blue light to reduce eye strain. I don't mind blue light at all, but some people really prefer to be able to reduce your eye strain. You can change your daytime color temperature. You can make it warmer or more blue. I prefer to keep it blue myself. Now, there's OLED panel settings, which is really interesting. This can help prevent, for example, battery power consumption and potentially increase your battery life. You can dim the taskbar after 30 seconds. So just the taskbar itself will be dimmed if you're not using the laptop for 30 seconds. You also have background dimmer. So if you have one display that's set to the background, you can set it to dim after 30 seconds. You also have display dimmer, which is the whole display. You can have that dim after 30 seconds, a minute, however long you want. I just think it's really cool that you can do a taskbar dimmer because that should also help prevent any OLED burn-in over the course of many years of use. Camera privacy. Camera privacy is no longer supported through Lenovo Vantage. Please use your camera shutter if you want to use the privacy. So here's the camera. I have the privacy shutter, I believe right here. I just flip the shutter and that shuts off power to the camera so no one can access or view the camera. We can flip that back on and there's the camera right there. We're going to test out the camera here in a moment. Input and accessories. You've got your mouse touchpad controls, mouse controls, caps lock, advanced settings. Zero touch login enables you to improve your workflow by automatically logging you in on your computer using Windows Hello. Zero touch lock. This feature will dim the display and lock the computer when your user presence is not detected. So this can automatically lock your laptop if you're not at the laptop for a little while, and then when you sit down, it'll automatically go back in using Windows Hello. It's kind of awesome actually. If you are worried about people using your laptop without your knowledge or consent. Performance boost, network boost, and auto close. This stuff I'm not worried about. This is probably not really relevant, and it says right in here that it's unavailable for this device. So under here, under device, if we want to update our system, we go to system update and we can hit check for updates. This is how you get your BIOS updates or any key software updates that you need for the Yoga Book 9i. So just right here under device, system update. Perfect. All right. Of course, there's also Windows Update, which you can get a lot of your updates through Windows Update as well. Now, we are almost ready to do our test. We're going to quickly install Process Lasso. This is a tool that I use. We're going to go ahead and switch this. This is a tool I use to try to ensure as much benchmarking fairness as possible. And go ahead and start this. And what this does is it prioritizes certain processes inside of Windows to be above normal or real time or whatever you wanted to set it to be. But basically this allows the process here, Cinebench R23, to take priority over anything else that might be going on in the system. And that's going to help provide, like I said, fairness for this benchmark. So we're going to go ahead and run Cinebench R23 now. I'm going to go and tilt this display down a bit. Try to make this as good of a viewing experience as possible. It's a little tricky because the display is so high up. I suppose I could put it on the lower display. Is that better? I suppose that might be better right there. All right. So let's go ahead and do our CPU multi. And we're going to pull down our information here as well. So we've got our 2P cores right now are doing 3.5 gigahertz. Our 8E cores are doing 2.7 gigahertz. Our CPU temperature is doing 84 degrees. CPU package, 91. Our overall package being, of course, 91, 92. And it's starting to heat up a little bit more as it's continuing to workload. And it's safe all the way up to 100 degrees Celsius. Now, our CPU package is pulling 35 watts, and you can kind of start hearing that CPU fan. Do you hear it? So 35 watts is a pretty good amount of power for an Ultrabook. It says it peaked at 42 watts, and yeah, that's a good amount of power for an Ultrabook. It's right in line basically with maximizing the performance of this CPU. And we are getting close to thermal throttle. It looks like it's going to thermal throttle at 95 degrees. And let's see what our CPU cores are doing right now. So we've come down from 3.6 gigahertz. Now we're at 3.49, 3.5 on our P cores there. And that is still very good, but not quite as good as what it was when it wasn't thermal throttling. So we're just about done with the first test here. 8,287 points for our first test. Let's go ahead and test it a few more times, and we'll see what we get as we do, like, say, 4 or 5 tests. For a ultra portable Ultrabook dual screen, super thin, super light, this is a good amount of performance. Like, I used to edit videos with less performance. I used to edit videos on like quad core gaming laptops that were super powerful at the time, and it had less performance than this. And I could edit pretty well on those laptops. Now, of course, this does not have an Nvidia GPU. So if you're using like a lot of Adobe software, there's no AMD or Nvidia GPU, so you do not get any CUDA core boosting for video rendering or editing. But this does have Intel QuickSync technology, so you can utilize that, which in some applications is actually faster than Nvidia CUDA core boosting. So Intel QuickSync is like a special media encoder built into the CPU that allows you to quickly encode video files in things like Adobe Premiere, Handbrake, DaVinci Resolve when utilizing certain codecs. So you have to use the correct codec and then having Intel QuickSync active, and it will massively speed up your rendering speed, even in this laptop right here. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, we are in our second run right now. We are now doing 3.1 gigahertz, 2.9 gigahertz. It went down to 2.6 for a little while, 2.9 right there. So our P cores are dropping a bit lower in terms of performance. Our E cores are at 2.2 to 2.3 gigahertz. So these are some pretty low numbers overall, a little bit lower, obviously very low numbers compared to a gaming laptop. 7,305 right there, 7,305 for our second run. So our performance, as we are thermal throttling and as we are being power limit throttled to be a lower power limit, looks like we're basically being power limit throttled down to about 25 watts of power. As we are being power limit throttled down to that lower wattage in our long power limit, we are basically seeing that slightly reduced performance. I mean, it went from what, 8,200 to 7,300. Let's see what we get on our third run. And I'm pretty sure this is basically going to be the consistent CPU rendering performance of what you're going to be able to get on this laptop. If we were to do a 10-minute test, we would probably get this level of performance on average overall. Notice that now that we're doing lower power limits, our temperatures are also much better. 76 degrees on the core temps, 78 or 80 degrees now. It was 78, 79. Now 80 degrees right here on the CPU package temps. Our average temps, if I were to just refresh this so that it redoes the averages, our averages are going to be right around the upper 70s, lower 80s. And our package power is going to be right around 25 watts, just a hair under 25 watts, like around 24, 23 watts. Our P core is right now doing 29.5 gigahertz. Our E core is doing 2.1 gigahertz. Now, for reference, if you were to have the new i9 13950HX CPU, which is 24 core, 32 thread, for example, in the Blade 18, your P cores across 8 P cores are going to be doing like 3.5, 3.6, 3.7 gigahertz. Pretty massively insane, especially if you undervolt them. Much better overall performance in a thicker machine for video rendering, multi-core rendering. So it's important to recognize that when you go this Ultrabook route, you are giving up a lot of performance. 7,099. This is still going to be enough to do a lot of stuff, but it's not going to get it done as fast as a more powerful CPU, and it's not going to be able to multitask as well as another system. Now we're going to go and unplug. We're going to go on battery mode, and we're going to run this again. We're going to do a battery only test and see what our wattage is and how much performance we get. So now that we're on battery only mode, I'm trying to listen. I'm not really hearing the fans. Yeah, LSP says for this laptop, you should also run the test on battery since the majority of users are going to use it on battery. That's a good point, and that's what we're doing right now. Thank you for the suggestion. So 2.99 gigahertz across the P cores, basically right at 3 gigahertz during battery mode. We're still hitting 76 degrees on the core temp, 80 degrees on the package. And we are doing 24.3 watts of power. So the same amount of wattage, same amount of power, at least as the long power limit right here on battery mode. Now, we did not boost up to the 35 watts that we were getting initially during when it was plugged in, but it's still obviously very good performance for battery mode. Very similar levels of performance. It should be right around 7,000, maybe just a hair above 7,000 for its Cinebench R23 score when on battery mode here. So let's find out. What do we get? So we're almost done. A few more lines to go here. And next up, we're going to run Timespy, and we're going to check out the 3D rendering potential of the new Intel chip. Yep, so basically right at 24 watts of power, just a hair under 25, 7,293. So we actually went up a little bit when on battery mode. Interesting. Very interesting. Y2J says this is like watching paint dry versus gaming laptops on Cinebench. That depends on the gaming laptop, but yeah, this is, like my Blade 18 gets over 30,000. So about 4 times more powerful. And of course, it has 3.5 times more cores. So yeah, it makes sense, right? It makes sense that this is what we would get. Let's go ahead and take a look at our camera. All right, so we're going to load up the camera app. And here it is. Wow. That's a very good camera. All right, we're gonna go ahead and let me just take a couple photos. Okay, and let's go ahead and take a look kind of at them in detail here. Can I zoom in? Yeah, just zoom in right here. They are not grainy. They are not noisy. Maybe a little bit of noise here in the back. But for a webcam, that is very close to, say, like a front-facing camera on a smartphone. Not far off. You can really see the detail in my beard. This is very similar to my Blade 18 5-megapixel webcam. This is better than all the other gaming laptops that I've tested for webcams. Like I said, the only one that's really competitive with this that I've tested so far is the Blade 18, and this might be a little bit better than the Blade 18, honestly, for webcam. So this might be the best webcam I've tested so far this year. Let me just kind of hear. I'm going to record a video and play back the audio over the speakers and take a look at that real quick. Okay, so this is me recording a quick 5-10 second video, and I'm going to go and start typing on the keyboard, and let's see what this looks like and sounds like when I play it back.
Okay, so this is me recording a quick 5-10 second video, and I'm going to go ahead and start typing on the keyboard, and let's see what this looks like and sounds like when I play it back.
So it's definitely a bit wispy on the microphone pickup, maybe a little bit too gainy. With some adjustments to the microphone and a little bit of post-processing, the microphone would probably be quite a bit better, but it's actually pretty good. That's actually surprisingly good, especially for just a laptop. Like, that's not quite as good as a smartphone, but it's not far from a smartphone quality. As far as front-facing smartphone cameras, not as good as a rear-facing for sure, but very similar to a front-facing webcam. I'm very impressed with that. Zenom says insane. Yeah, I do. I agree. After trying all these gaming laptops that have terrible webcams, this is like so much better. So anyway, cool. So let's go ahead and move into Timespy and see how the new Intel chip is doing. So let's make this bigger. Now I do want to mention, okay? I want to mention that there is a link in the description. If you do decide that you want to buy this YogaBook 9i, there's a link in the description that takes you to Best Buy. This is sponsored. This is a live stream that's sponsored by Best Buy. Thanks to Best Buy for helping support my channel. I mentioned this at the beginning of the live stream. I'll mention it again, but there's a link in the description. It does help support me as a content creator if you do use it. So thank you very much. And if you do use it and you're trying to support me, it does need to be in a trackable browser like Chrome or something without ad blockers when you do go buy it to support me. But again, no pressure to buy this thing. Buy whatever you think matters to you, and if it sounds good to you. And I'm just trying to show you. That's my goal as a reviewer. I'm just trying to show you what it can do, show you what my experience is like with this thing, and then you decide from there if this product is correct for you or not. And that's what I try to do with these live streams, make it as raw and real as I can. And that way it's really, really helpful. And you know that it's like authentic content. So, all right. So we have Timespy loaded up and installed. We're going to run this. We're also going to open up Afterburner so we can see those juicy stats. I have already configured Afterburner. It should be correct. I have also, just so you know, updated the driver on here on the Intel Xe driver to the latest driver directly from Intel's site to make sure that we have the latest drivers. Let's find out what we get in Timespy. Okay, I think that'll be good. LSP says the camera is especially better than the webcam on the GT77, even though the machine is a couple times more expensive and infinitely more powerful. Yeah. Y2J guesses 4,300. Well, maybe for the overall score, I don't know. Not the GPU score. The GPU score does not go that high. I can tell you that much. But let's find out. All right. I can't remember the exact score, but I know the GPU score is in like the 1600-ish range, give or take a bit. Overall, gotcha. Okay. So right here at the top, we have our stats. This is for the Intel Xe graphics card. We're utilizing the GPU at 99%, so basically 100%. We're pulling 24 watts of power through the Intel Xe GPU. We've got 1300 megahertz right now on the GPU clock speed. And this, I don't know if it's overclockable or not. I haven't tried that. It might be interesting to try that. Our VRAM is at 30,405 megabytes used. I believe this utilizes shared VRAM with the system RAM, which right here is saying 11.6 gigs are used of the LPDDR5X RAM. So as far as I know, it's a combined unified RAM within the integrated GPU. So that's good and bad in the sense that some games are using a lot of VRAM if you're using a lot of high resolution games, but in general, we're not going to be running games at high resolution with this. All right. We're not going to be running high resolution games. If you're going to play games on this on the native integrated GPU, you're going to need to turn down the resolution down to like 1280 by 800 or maybe 1440 by like 900, some kind of 16 by 10 aspect ratio that's a little bit lower than 1080p. And that's how you're going to be able to get playable frame rates in a lot of the more modern titles. Obviously here in Timespy, it's a very tough to run benchmark, and we're only getting between like 8 to 11 frames per second. It's not a high-end gaming system for sure. And this is really not supposed to be a gaming system, but I'm trying to give you the full details on this laptop. All right. Now, part of like if I owned this system and I wanted to game, I would focus heavily on cloud gaming, which is streaming from servers directly to the display. And I'm going to show you some examples of cloud gaming here. We're going to play Cyberpunk both natively, and I'm going to show you the stats that we're getting natively. And then we're going to pop into the cloud gaming server, and we're going to run everything on Ultra, and we're going to try it again. And I'm going to show you what it's like to run on this display using a cloud gaming. Now, the nice thing about using cloud gaming on this display, on this laptop, for me at least, is that you can use like GeForce Now, for example, or the Xbox streaming app on the upper half. And then you can use the video streaming app on the lower half to have dual screen, like full screen content on one screen, full screen content on the second screen. And you can watch TV while you game, or you can watch Netflix while you game, or whatever. And it's perfectly smooth on both displays. That's probably like the best part about this, using the streaming service. If you don't use the streaming service and you use the onboard integrated GPU to play the games, you're not going to be able to use both displays at the same time and have it be smooth, right? Unless you're just browsing the web or something or reading your email. That you could do that on both displays while gaming, but it's just not going to be as good if you're using the onboard, because you're basically using the CPU all the way to the max to run that game. And so everything else on the system at the time is going to be really bogged down. But if you're just streaming video on both displays, this CPU can perfectly handle that just fine. Okay, so we're almost done with the Timespy run. 1,800 overall, 810. 1,602 for our graphics score. Our CPU score is actually pretty good at 6,886. But of course, you don't really run games off of the CPU, maybe strategy games, but really your graphics score is what matters for the vast majority of games. So what this tells us is that you're only going to be able to play legacy titles at 60 frames per second, or at least even above 30 frames per second, or modern games at low settings and lower resolution. So we're going to go ahead and test like 5 games now. All right, so we're going to go ahead and let's start with Apex Legends. Mars says, that is good. This can play Diablo 4 for sure. Probably. This is going to be able to play almost all of the mobile games just fine. Like if you're trying to play something that is... if you're trying to play something that is mobile friendly, then this will almost for sure play it. Like if you're installing it from the Microsoft Store, it's going to work really, really well. If you're trying to install it like an emulator, it's going to be a bit spottier on the support or whatever. Now we're going to go ahead, since we're going to run these games now at lower resolution, I need to go ahead and reduce the size here a little bit down to like 10, and we need to reduce this down to like 300. Cool. All right, let's see if that's the right size now. Okay. That's pretty good, but actually I should probably make it even a little smaller. There we go. Okay, so we've got our stats there up in the top. We are in Apex Legends. We are in video mode, 1280 by 800 resolution. We are triple buffered with VSync because it kind of needs it. We're going to do no anti-aliasing. Everything is going to be on low or disabled. We'll just take off it. We'll take off VSync for this, for the sake of testing it. All right. So let's go ahead and do, we'll start in the firing range and check that out. And then we'll hop into gun run, just like I always do. Todoroki says no AMD CPU is a missed opportunity. I kind of agree with you from a gaming perspective. The AMD, GPUs, especially the new ones coming out here, they have more gaming potential from a raw gaming perspective than this one, for sure. Now, you can see right now we are getting 39 FPS, so we are in a playable range of FPS for sure. Our FPS is only 10 though for our 1% lows, which is, that's far from ideal, right? But let's go ahead and grab one of these. There we go. So I can definitely play this game, but it's not to the same level. It's not to the same level that I can play, your traditional gaming laptop. Like, I love having 100 plus FPS in Apex Legends. If I'm going to play this game, I usually am very competitive. And so I want, I'm looking for that 100 FPS experience. And right now we're also on a Bluetooth mouse, which is just not as responsive as an actual gaming mouse, right? So from a gaming perspective, I would definitely be using a gaming focused mouse that has lower latency. And wow, actually our FPS is pretty dang good at 54, 24 right now. I'm actually really impressed with the FPS in this firing range, doing 70 FPS, 60 FPS. Because I know that when we actually get into a real match, I'm pretty sure it's going to struggle a bit more. Let's go ahead and hop into a real match now. Also, I'm going to go ahead and plug in my USB-C gaming mouse. That way I have a little bit better control. Zenom says the visual quality. Yeah, so that's where cloud gaming comes in, right? If you wanted to have higher resolution textures, better overall settings, having a cloud gaming experience is going to be a lot more visually pleasing for sure. The thing is, cloud gaming does introduce just a little bit of latency. Like if you have really good internet connection, it doesn't introduce much, but it is noticeable to me. It is noticeable to me, but it's, if you get the GeForce Now with the ultimate version, you can get 120 FPS cloud gaming. This is only a 60 hertz display, so you're not going to really take advantage of 120 hertz unless you're using an external monitor, which you could totally do that. You could use an external gaming monitor, hook this up to that, and then do cloud gaming for high FPS gaming. That is a possibility. And I don't think it would be a bad experience. You're probably going to have a very good overall experience, even in competitive games. But ultra competitive people are not going to be happy with it, I don't think. Like if you're basically trying to become a pro, you're competing in Fortnite, Valorant, Apex Legends, it's not as good as having an actual local system to maximize or truly minimize your latency. So yeah, this is taking a little while. Okay, I just set the textures to be low instead of like basically off. It looks so much better now having these textures on low. Yeah. LSP says, I prefer to run on native hardware instead, especially since I have a lot of stuff that is only compatible with native hardware. Absolutely. I think that this, using this in a cloud gaming experience is only going to be applicable to a subset of people that are more casual gamers, that are not really as competitive, or they just focus on casual gaming. Like if you just play Elden Ring and single player games, God of War, whatever, you can totally play all of those games on this system and it'll feel good as long as you have a game streaming service or a secondary PC to stream to this Ultrabook, right? That's kind of the key if you're wanting it to be good, like really good. So I'm trying to see if I can get this to load in. You can do it. Come on, Apex. I believe in you. Space Surfer, do you have the same 100 FPS in Warzone? So we currently do not have 100 FPS in actual gameplay. We've got to see what we get in actual gameplay. It's not going to be as good as this. All right, I guarantee you that. So, like right now, we're just in the menu. It is a 3D environment, and we are getting 95 FPS. But in actual gameplay, it should be closer to like 30 to 50, maybe 60 FPS on the high side in the actual matches. But the 1% lows are also going to be even lower than that, so it's going to be a bit more stuttery, you know, when you're actually playing. It's going to be a little harder to aim. It does not want to load us in. All right, so I'm going to let it go for 1 more minute on this matchmaking. And if it doesn't load us in the next minute, we're going to just move on to the next game because it's... Okay, it says matchmaking. It was like saying finding a teammate for a second there. It's been 30 seconds. Let's give it another 30 seconds. Do. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Apex servers right now. They're not working correctly. So we're going to move on to the next game. I can guarantee you it's going to be like in I did play a game, all right, when I was testing the laptop, and it was in the 30 to 45 FPS range in Apex. So add temperatures on the layout. I thought they were on there. Yeah, CPU temperature is there. There's only one CPU temperature because it's only one GPU. It's the CPU and GPU are put together. So, and Space Server says, do you have the same 100% FPS in Warzone? Definitely not. I don't know what you'd get in Warzone. I didn't test Warzone. Warzone, I think, might be more of a struggle than Apex. Apex might be a bit more optimized than Warzone. So if you're trying to do Warzone, you're probably going to have to stream that from a PC, like with Steam Play or something. All right, so we're going to reduce our resolution. We'll try 1440 by 900. We're on low settings, full screen. You can see our FPS here on the lower. Right now in the menu, we're doing 100, but like 110. But we'll see what we get in the actual gameplay. You know, we're looking for at least 60. If our FPS can be above 60, then at least generally, especially for our 1% lows, then it's at least going to be a pretty decent gaming experience. But again, CSGO, very competitive shooter type of a game. Generally not going to be the kind of game that someone's going to want to play on this. So, but I'm just trying to give you a couple of games that you can definitely play as examples. So we are in the game right now. We're doing 130, 190. So we are hitting some pretty good FPS numbers just spectating right now. $200 actually. Okay, I'm actually a little bit more impressed. Obviously, CSGO being one of the easier games to run out there, I'm hoping it actually feels pretty good right now. Let me turn off that light behind me here so you can see a little better. It's going to be a miracle if I get a kill. It's been forever since I played CSGO. All right, so here's a smoke. Oh, wow, we're actually doing over 100 FPS in the smoke. What? I was not expecting to be over 100 FPS in the smoke. Oh, we got God from the side. Okay, so this is actually playing really smooth. I think the 1% low is close or above 60. Like, it is shockingly smooth, actually. You could probably play at a higher resolution, to be honest. Maybe depending on how complicated the map is, though. Now, of course, this is an OLED display, so it's extremely fast response rate display, but it's not a particularly smooth display because it's only 60 frames per second. I'm gonna turn up the audio a little bit louder.
Get him, Jenna. I love you.
So I'm gonna turn it down now, actually, because I don't want them to swear on the live stream. Let's go rifle. Dang. These guys are so... Counter-Strike is such a competitive game. It's so hard to play. I was looking in the wrong spot. So overall, this is clearly playing Counter-Strike actually really, really well. Better than... Like, I did play it for a little while when I was testing it out. And it did not play as good as this. This is playing so smoothly. I wonder how Counter-Strike 2 is going to play. Anyway, this is good. We can go ahead and move on to the next game. Very impressed. I'm actually very impressed with Counter-Strike. It was better than I had anticipated. So let's move into Elden Ring and check that out. So Elden Ring is a RPG and a very fun game to play if you've not played it. It's all about dodging and fighting bosses, timing your dodges just right so that you don't get obliterated by these huge bosses. So that's going to be the challenge with Elden Ring, is that you need it to be smooth enough to be able to dodge enemy attacks. So that's going to be the focus of, I guess, this test, to see what it's like. I don't know what that warning was, but whatever. LSP says, I play multiple Android emulators at once, but can't do anything else due to pegged hardware. I plan to get an i9 4090 laptop to run those emulators, games like Doom, Eternal at the same time. Nice. Kaylin Gurley says, shows how optimized CSGO is. These 13th gen iGPUs are actually decent. Previously, it was only the Radeon iGPUs that were reliably decent. Interesting. Yeah. That was actually a really good gaming experience. If you had an external monitor, you'd totally be able to play that game really well. Let's just go ahead and show you the system settings right now that we're in. So right now we're at 1440 by 900 full screen, but let's I'm actually going to reduce the resolution to get the most possible performance, because I can tell that it's struggling to hit high FPS right now. So let's go 1280 by 800. So this is the same resolution as the Steam Deck right now. We're on a low settings. All right. So we're on low settings, 1280 by 800. And right now, it's actually pretty dang playable. 35 FPS. 15 FPS for our 1% low is not great. But as long as our actual FPS is above 30, the gameplay will actually look pretty smooth. And as long as the 1% lows are not like too terrible. Oh, snap. I got a couple hits in before he killed me. And he got me. It's so hard to dodge in Elden Ring. Yeah. So that gives you an idea. 35 FPS in this big open world area with all this foliage and a boss fighting me. You could play this game. You could play Elden Ring not terribly, actually, on this laptop. I'm not saying it's an ideal performance, but this is native, all right? And let me show you performance when I unplug it. We are now unplugged. I have the power plug here. We are going to see if this system can handle performance when we're unplugged. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to go and reset our FPS numbers. So we're getting like the exact same performance, even though we are now unplugged. How cool is that? So you're going to be able to play for at least, I would say, probably 2 to 3 hours of games like Elden Ring on this system. Whew. Oh, snap. Come on. Oh my gosh. Okay, you got me. Hey, I actually got him for like 7 or 8 hits. That's not terrible for me, all right? This is obviously a very, very hard game to play. And I'm not that good at it. But that shows you can at least play Elden Ring, and it's not awful. Like, I'm not saying it's a great gaming experience, but it's actually pretty good. Like, it's playable, you know? So let's go ahead and move on to our next game. All right, and let's see here. What's our next game that we have? The Witcher 3. Okay, so let's hop into The Witcher 3. Witcher 3 being used to be a super hard to run game that only higher end systems could run, at least especially on high settings. But they've done some optimization and updates to The Witcher 3. And it's a little bit surprising how well this thing runs it, honestly. When I was testing it before the live stream. So let's see how well it runs it. Well, I'll show you the settings as well here in a moment. Kaylin says, gotta master those invincibility frames to time the dodge. Yeah, I don't know how to play Elden Ring that well. So it's the kind of thing you need a lot of practice for. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn up the audio a little bit here. All right, so let's go ahead and show you our settings. So right now we have FSR2 enabled on quality mode, and we're on the low graphics preset. For our resolution, let's just drop it down to 1280 by 800. All right, but you could run it at a little higher, honestly, I think, probably, and still have a pretty good experience. But right now we're doing 39, 40 FPS. So let's go through our Witcher benchmark run, just to give you an idea that, you know, like it is possible to play natively on this laptop. Like these graphics are obviously not ideal. I would tweak these more. I'd probably try to up the textures until I saw more stuttering. But look at our 1% lows, 28 for our 1% lows. This thing is really smooth feeling, gameplay wise. Like it's actually surprisingly good and perfectly playable. I'm not saying it's going to be that way in every area of the game, but this is a more demanding area with lots of NPCs. And honestly, it's probably going to be better in most areas of the game than this. All right, so I've went ahead and reset it. We're going to go ahead and start our benchmark run. Let's see what we get.
We have much work to do here.
Shaboom. All right, we're swimming to the end. Right now we're doing 37, 38 FPS, and we're on battery mode, by the way. I just want to point out that we are indeed playing on battery mode with both displays enabled right now. 28 watts being utilized on the CPU. 76 degrees on that CPU as well. We ended up with 38 FPS, 29 for our 1% low. That is very playable, all right? And these graphics are actually not that bad. Like, look at that. Look at that armor on... look at that armor detail on the Witcher there. It's actually very impressive on Geralt. Like these are definitely competitive graphics with something like the Steam Deck or something, you know? Like, I'm not saying that it's like better than the Steam Deck. I think the Steam Deck probably has slightly better FPS than this, but still, this is very good. I think it's exceptionally good for something that you're gonna take with you on the go. Let's do a quick checkup with how long Windows is estimating our battery life is gonna last right now. It's estimating 2 hours and 4 minutes. Let me see if I can zoom in. So if you were to play games on this, maximum brightness right now, or very high brightness level, I'm not sure. Let's see what brightness level it is. It's at 80, like 70. It's at 70% brightness right now. At 70% brightness with both displays enabled, Bluetooth on, Wi-Fi on, we're getting about 2 hours of battery life. So if you were with speakers running, if you were to play with no speakers running, or like headphones and then just Bluetooth or something for like a controller, I'm guessing, and your brightness down to 50% or maybe even a little bit less, Wi-Fi off if you wanted to run with Wi-Fi off, I'm thinking you could probably get 2.5, 3 hours of gameplay in that range with the right optimization. Obviously, probably 2 hours without any optimization. You're just running it near maximum brightness with everything on. That's with native onboard gameplay for battery life. It's obviously nothing amazing. Like, it's not as good as a true portable gaming system, but that's actually, I think, pretty good for a laptop that you're just going to play casual games on occasionally. Like, it's not a gaming focused system for sure, but it's still, I think, very good. And you might even be able to extend it beyond. Like in certain games that have particularly, looks like The Witcher's still running. You know, in certain games that have really good battery optimization, or maybe it doesn't need to maximize all 24 watts to the GPU, you might be able to get down to like 15 watts or something like that in certain titles and still have good gameplay. And then you're going to be able to game for even longer, you know, 4 hours, 5 hours or something, you know. So it's going to depend on the game. It's going to depend on what settings you want to run it at. Right now, we are once again 1280 by 1800 full screen. We've got, let's go for graphics. Everything's going to be set to low. low graphics with low textures. That's what we were on before. We are going to be on Intel Xe super sampling. So this is the new Intel technology for super sampling. We'll set it to, let's just set it to balance mode. And let's just see what it looks like. I'm not sure if that's going to work well or not. I haven't tested this. Let's find out. I have not tested these exact settings before, so let's see what we get on these settings. Okay, so here we are. We're getting 35 FPS, 21 for our low. That's going to be pretty playable, but pretty far from, you know, your ideal gameplay for a shooter game, at least. But that's above like the bare minimum of what is considered playable in these games, right? Like if you're hitting more than 30 FPS and your 1% low is above 24, it's going to be pretty smooth overall gameplay. And I'm going to go ahead and blow up some bad guys and shoot some bad guys here in a moment. We'll see how that goes. And I got to say that in terms of graphically, this game probably looks the best out of all the games we've tested. Just because, like, these graphics look pretty dang gorgeous even on low. It's got a bit of anti-aliasing issues, like with little pixelations like around the edges of the palm tree, stuff like that. That's where if you were to turn Intel Xe up a little bit higher, you might be able to make it a little bit better on the pixelation side of things. Let's go back to the main menu now, and let's try to hop into a little bit of gameplay. So again, we're on battery life right now. We're not running this on plugged in mode. So I want you to pay close attention to how smooth everything is, and how not quite perfectly smooth everything is as well. Let's go ahead and move in. So this is one of the fighting scenes early on in the game, but it's very representative of a lot of the combat in the game. I refreshed the FPS meter right there before we went into this scene. We're at 42 FPS, 28 for a 1% lows. I feel like I'm aiming pretty well, but it's obviously not as good as like. Not as good as it would be if it was a higher FPS experience. And the gameplay is certainly not as detailed or as smooth as a higher FPS laptop or a gaming laptop would be. But it's not far, you know, from what your experience would be on like the Steam Deck, for example. You know, it'd be very similar to what you're going to have on the Steam Deck. Maybe the Steam Deck would be a little bit higher settings, and a little bit higher FPS, but it's going to be in the same ballpark of settings. So it's not like you get this versus something like a Steam Deck. You're actually going to get a pretty comparable experience for just the general gameplay running around games like Cyberpunk 2077 or other optimized games that can handle lighter weight graphic settings. So now that we've shown you that, I want to show you running Cyberpunk 2077 in the same. We're going to run Cyberpunk 2077, but in GeForce Now right now, and we're going to see how well cloud gaming works to handle something like this. All right, so this is going to be your, wow, it's 394 gamers ahead of us, so we're going to have to do something else for a minute while this is going. So the way cloud gaming on GeForce Now works is you have a waiting list. If you're a free gamer like me, I have not paid for a premium account, and you have to wait in the queue for people to free up servers, basically. It takes a few minutes. Like normally yesterday, I ran this a few times the last couple of days to test out some different games and experiences. And normally there was like 80 to 100 people in front of me. So 384 is a lot more than what it was. All right. So other cloud game streaming services that you could utilize if you wanted to, you could do, for example, remote play. You could do remote play from like my gaming desktop here, or my gaming, seeing if I can get it logged in here. My Blade 18, I'm not sure if it would actually be able to do it or not, because I am streaming at the same time. It probably would be able to do it. Now, LSP says another reason for native hardware. Now, I want to make it clear that if I had a paid account, for GeForce Now, there would be like minimal queue or almost no queue. But because it's a free account, there is a queue. All right, so I'm logged in right now for Steam. Let's see if we can do remote play. All right, so we're going to try streaming Cyberpunk 2077 from my Blade 18. I've actually done this. So. Interesting. Steam Link is interesting. Steam Remote Play. Oh. Interesting. So it's saying I have to enter a code to accept this. And it's saying, oh, set security code. Okay. Oh. Ew, okay, I see. All right. Okay, so it looks like, wait, GeForce Now. So GeForce Now actually did finish loading. It must have jumped ahead like 300 places, and so we're actually in. That went faster than I thought it was going. I thought it was going to take like 10, 15 minutes. But let's go ahead and check out GeForce Now since we're in Cyberpunk already now. But I have set my security code now. I didn't realize I had to manually set that up. It's the first time trying Steam Remote Play for me. So that was an interesting little learning experience right there. Okay. All right, so we are currently, right now, this screen is streaming from the Nvidia GeForce servers. All right. So it is not locally being rendered. It is being rendered away from us. And then it's being streamed to the laptop. So what this means is if I were to pull up HW info, you'd be able to see that all All right, so right here, right now, we're only pulling 15 watts of power. 11 watts of power, 12 watts of power. So, and we are on battery mode right now. So what that means is that if you're trying to play a video game and you want to maximize your battery life when you're unplugged from the wall and you have a good internet connection, game streaming will really optimize your battery life to last much, much longer with this notebook. So with this game streaming, you know, first of all, you know, we are playing, let's check out our settings here, right? So we are setting, we can set this all the way up to 1920 by 1200 resolution. Well, there we go. Okay. Because it was kind of not, it was not scaling correctly for a moment there. We are going to set DLSS to quality. And that should set us up for very smooth gameplay. Since this is on the Nvidia servers, we are not going to be able to see exactly the FPS. I don't think, unless there's a, is there an FPS number? I don't think there's a way to show the FPS. In the benchmark, we'll run the benchmark here in a second, but it should be well over 45 FPS. It's very smooth to me looking at the game here, and so like look at the graphics level. It's a higher level of graphics. The details are better, and it's a bit smoother. Now, the thing is, there's a slight delay when you're turning and aiming. It's minor, but it is noticeable for me. It's not nothing, and it's not something that you can ignore if you're going to be playing competitive shooter games. Like if you're just playing a game like this, I think it's something that you could probably eventually ignore or get around, not worry about that much. Just a single player gaming experience is just fine. It's not like not like it ruins the experience in a single player game. But I would not want to play competitive shooters. So, like the graphics, obviously really nice. Just as good as what you'd expect to have on a gaming laptop, except for the response rate. The response rate is lower, and that's the main the downside here. All right, so overall, I think that if you're going to, if you're going to primarily be focused on single player games like Cyberpunk, like The Witcher 3, you can play those games on ultra low settings. Elden Ring, you can play those games on the native hardware with this laptop, but it's not going to be a top tier experience unless you're doing the cloud streaming. And then with the cloud streaming, you need to have good internet connection, and you need to have like a good, consistent, fast internet connection, at least 20 megabits where you're not getting cluttered, and then from there you basically are pretty much good to go. You need to not be playing competitive games though. That's the thing. Not competitive games and a good internet connection, and it'll be a great overall gaming experience using cloud streaming. The great thing about the cloud streaming that I personally really love, all right, is this. All right, so you can have a game like Cyberpunk being played on the top, and then you can go to your favorite streaming service down here on the bottom, and you can watch something at the same time. All right, I love that. I absolutely love this. Is incredible. You know, like if I wanted to watch one of my videos at the same time, oh hey, there's the live stream. Right here, we can play the live stream. We can do it full screen, and we can play the game at the same time. So here we are. Look, there's the live stream right there. And now we're playing the game at the top at the same time. And it's so cool to me. Like that is an awesome feature that gamers that want to watch something while they play or do some other multitasking while they play, they're going to absolutely love this if you do the cloud game streaming. And it's smooth. Like the gameplay is still smooth up here. It's still good gameplay and the video is playing smoothly. All right. So this is to me like the ideal casual gamer or MMO gamer multitasking type of setup. Better than almost any gaming laptop, except for maybe the Zephyrus Duo 16. Zephyrus Duo 16 can do something similar to this. But I would say this is even better in the sense of multitasking because it's 2 full-size displays at the same time. So I do really, really like that. So is there anything else gaming-wise, performance-wise that I want to show you guys? I don't know. I think that if you're going to utilize, if you're a casual gamer, I think gaming is entirely possible on this system. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to change the authorization code now. Anyway, so if you're a casual gamer, this thing's awesome. If you're a student, this thing's going to be awesome. If you're a competitive gamer, it's not going to be an option for you. All right. This is not going to be great for competitive gaming. If you're like an office worker or someone who needs to use 2 screens, so far, it does not get better than this. This much screen real estate is bigger than my Blade 18 display. It is bigger. It is noticeably more productive too because it's easy to divide up. And you can divide it up into quadrants a lot easier. And whole windows can be displayed. The UI interface for Windows is much more optimized for this type of interface than it is for a single display. What else? Overall, I think that this is a huge product hit. It's going to be a huge product hit. And I think it's going to be like comparing this to every other notebook out there. Like, it's just like, it's such a well executed product, in my opinion, that it is the best Ultrabook that you can pretty much get just from the nature of the productivity of it, the multifunctionality of it. There's never been a dual screen display like this that I know of that can easily switch into a tactile keyboard and touchpad experience that feels basically just as good as a normal keyboard Ultrabook. Almost quite as good. Not quite. It's a little bit better on a normal Ultrabook, all right? But it's almost as good. And then whenever you want, you can easily switch it into a multi-window desktop in the library, in the classroom. Can you imagine popping this out in the classroom and popping this up? Oh, all your other classmates would be so jealous of you. Like, I don't know, you might be annoying to some people though, because it's so big, it probably block the view. You might have to keep it in the lower mode when in the classroom. I don't know. But like for someone who wants to draw, like having the image of the thing you're drawing on the top screen and then drawing on the lower screen would be really awesome. So let's go ahead and switch into some drawing apps here. Let's test out the pen. All right, so this is Microsoft Paint. It's got new brush features, so it's not as basic as it used to be. And this pen does have left-right click capabilities. So I want to kind of show you this if I can. Zoom in here. There we go. So there is a double clicker here. I'll bet you can set the functionality for this, but I'm pretty sure this is a left-right clicker. But I'm not sure exactly all the functionality there. When you get this pen, you do have to unscrew this. There is a battery inside of here. All right, so this is a user replaceable battery right here. Looks like it's is that a AAA battery? It's a quadruple A battery. Interesting. So, very interesting. Some students are going to need a loan for this laptop. Yeah. I mean, as a student, I personally cannot think of a better laptop for a student from a functionality standpoint. This thing, you know, you got your stylus. You can take notes with this. You could draw with this. You can change the to a calligraphy brush, which is going to be pressure and directionally sensitive. So if we wanted to, we could make the size a little bigger. So you can see the calligraphy side of things a little bit. So this is, I'm not sure, I'm not an artist, right? I'm not an artist. I can't tell you how good this is, but I can tell you it is pressure sensitive and that it is going to be, it feels pretty accurate. It feels like I'm drawing pretty much with a pen. It's got just a slight bit of a delay to it. And it does feel very precise. So if you're someone who likes to have a pen interface, you can use this on the, you can use this on either screen. So this is something that you can use as a stylus for productivity, as well as something for drawing. And so you can use this for hand note taking. You can use this for drawing. You can use this for whatever you're wanting to use it for. I personally am not a huge fan of stylus because I like typing better personally. And I'm not much of an artist. I use Photoshop. I'm a Photoshop guy. Yeah. All right. Baka says the problem with this laptop is cost. The cost is insane. This is normal for these touch screen pens. I own one of these touch screen pens, very similar. Yeah. So LSP says this is going to be good for scientists doing research. So is this a good value? And let's do a summary of everything we've found about this laptop so far. All right. Now, let's hold this guy up. We'll do dual screen mode. I don't know. Can I hold this with the... let's do it like, can we do it? Let's try it like this. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. I gotta hold it with my hand. All right. So there we go. All right. So awesome. Awesome sauce. All right. So is this thing perfect? I would say no. It's not perfect. Let me turn on the screen behind me. Like from a gaming, let's talk about this from a few different perspectives, right? Let's say you're a business person and you just need something to be productive with, right? We'll put the keyboard to the side for right now because it's safer to hold that way. All right. Let's talk productivity. Right? I think this is probably the best laptop for productivity that's ever been released. I am a laptop fanatic. I have personally used hundreds of different laptops throughout the years, and I've never seen something like this for productivity. Having two displays is huge for someone who does data entry, who does research, who uses multi-screens, needs to see a calendar on one side while they look at their emails on another screen. Yes, you can split the screen on a single display. It is possible to split the screen and be a bit more productive that way, but it's not as efficient as having two separate screens, especially if you're needing to use full screen interfaces. Like if you're using Microsoft Excel with Microsoft Word, the tools along the top of those applications, or Photoshop or Adobe Premiere, the productivity aspect of those applications are completely hindered if you're splitting them on a single monitor, because you can't see all your tools. You can't access the full image. You're not seeing the full resolution. it's just not as good. It's very hampered on a single screen. So having two full displays to either do portrait or to do vertical, I guess I did it upside down. Let's do it like this. You know, and then the ability to scroll with all the way up and down across the whole system is insane. It's so cool. And the speakers on this are phenomenal. The webcam on this is phenomenal. The keyboard integration with the software is phenomenal. They did a really, really good job integrating the software from the keyboard to the touchpad interface that can pop up and be resized and used on the fly. So if you don't have a keyboard on the external and you've got it on the keyboard stand, you can easily control this. Let me show you that real quick. So let's say that you did not have an external mouse like I have right now with me. Right? You could use this laptop. You just press 3 fingers in the corner. You bring up this touchpad and now you can type, right? You can type whatever you want to type here. And then you can use your mouse just like this. You can use it as a mouse. Or of course you can always just use a touchpad. It's just like a giant, huge touchpad, touch screen, like a giant freaking tablet in front of your face. And it's stable enough that you can confidently press the top of the display too. Like I thought this thing was going to fall down any minute. Like if I was using this as a touch interface, like you would not be able to use the top display, upper display. You can totally use the upper display as a touch and it's not going anywhere. Like I'm pushing pretty dang hard on this thing and it's stable, right? I'm hitting it and it's still not falling over. It's not coming loose. It feels extraordinarily well designed and very premium of an overall experience. I love that. So like, is this something that I would actually want or use? Honestly, maybe. Like if I'm traveling and I need to update my laptop spreadsheet, this would be a great way to do that because I'd be able to have laptop listings on one screen and my gaming laptop sheet on the other screen, which is so much better than trying to update it on my Blade 18 alt tabbing between the different windows. All right. So from a dual display perspective and productivity perspective, I have a really strong use case that this is better than any other laptop that I've seen so far. So yeah, I might actually use this and take it with me when I go on trips instead of my iPad. So yeah. All right. Now, let's talk from a productivity perspective. How much CPU performance are you dealing with? Well, when it's plugged in, we got 8,300 or approximately a little over 8,000 in Cinebench R23. A full-fledged gaming laptop, high-end gaming laptop, now does about 30,000, a little over 30,000. Phenomenal performance in the new gaming laptops. But that doesn't mean this is bad, all right? This will still get the job done. It's still going to play games on low resolution, low settings natively on this laptop. Some games obviously are not going to play at all. That's the reality of it. This is not that powerful natively. And so for those games that are not going to play natively or you want to play on higher settings, you're going to have to do cloud streaming, which is going to require a great internet connection and casual gaming because you're not going to really play competitive games unless you pay for the ultimate version and use an external monitor, which can go up to 120 hertz. So that said, can you do casual gaming on this? Yeah, you could literally do AAA casual gaming on low settings like Elden Ring and certain other titles like Cyberpunk 2077. Those are decent gaming experiences native. You play the cloud gaming, you can get really good gaming experiences through the streaming. Productivity wise, it's just not going to be as fast as a bigger, thicker machine. So if you're a dedicated Photoshop guy or girl or whatever, you're a professional designer, professional video editor, this is not going to have nearly as much performance as a dedicated system that has an Nvidia GPU with additional CUDA cores and a more powerful CPU. You're going to get way more performance. All right. So if you're after ultimate levels of performance, your time is money type of a person, then yeah, this is probably not the ideal solution for you, right? But if you're like a college student, if you're a business professional, if you're someone that just needs to have something that's great for productivity, great for entertainment consumption, a casual gamer, this can basically meet your needs pretty dang well. Now, if you're a more serious gamer, you're either going to need a really good connection for the cloud gaming, or you're going to need to get a gaming laptop so you can have native gaming at full resolution and high settings. So it's not a full gaming laptop replacement for everybody, for sure. It's like a smaller, I would say 25 to 30% of gamers are going to be super happy with this. Either super casual gamers or people who don't mind lower settings. Yeah. I really loved my experience and my time with the Lenovo Yoga Book 9i. Again, this was sponsored by Best Buy. Shout out and thank you to them. If you decide the Lenovo Yoga Book is the right choice for you, then I would highly recommend using the link in the description if you want to support me as a content creator. And thank you very much if you do use that link. It's down there at $2,000. Do I think this is like insane value, such a good deal? Like, no. It's a premium device at a premium price, and it's going to be for people that have the extra money to spare, and they're not hardcore gamers. They're not competitive gamers. That's not really what this device is for. This is for general users who need a great dual screen experience, and that includes people who might be casual gamers that can use either cloud streaming or the low settings in some of the games that they play, depending on the game. So, yeah. This thing feels premium. It feels well built. The hinge is extremely sturdy. The speakers are excellent. The keyboard feels good. Really wish the keyboard had a backlight on the keyboard. That's probably the biggest drawback to the keyboard right now, in my opinion. But I understand why they didn't do that, because there's no power delivery to the keyboard. It is a battery. You have to replace the battery every now and then on the keyboard, or maybe charge it up. Let's see here. Does it have a charger on it? Yeah, it does have a charger. So you can just plug it in. It's a rechargeable battery on the keyboard. So that's not a problem. But I just wish it had that backlight on the keyboard. That would make this keyboard better for, more portable productivity. Yeah. So overall, I love the Yoga Book for what it is. It's not quite perfect, and it's certainly not for everybody, but it's pretty dang excellent, in my opinion, for what it is and for the type of use case that Lenovo created it for. I think it's going to be insanely popular. And I do think that this likely will be, maybe, we'll see how well this sells, but I think this very well could be a new laptop form factor that we'll see more versions of it. Just because of the insane productivity and functionality that some users are going to get out of this is going to be next level. And like I said, I would love to see a gaming laptop version of this where you get like a 4050, 4060, or 4070 with a little bit higher CPU and a little bit more cooling, maybe a little bit thicker. Like, yeah, 13-inch chassis. You could keep the same chassis, just make it a little bit thicker and put a little higher end components in it. Oh man, I think it would be an awesome way to play games, way to be productive. And it would be applicable to a wider set of audience of users. So, and at that point, it would be really, really, really awesome. Like it's really awesome, but it's limited by its lower tier CPU and the fact that it doesn't have an Nvidia GPU or AMD GPU in terms of what its performance potential could be. So that's kind of like where I'm at with the Lenovo Yoga Book 9i. I think it's awesome. It's not going to be for everybody. Let's take a look at chat, and I'll try to answer any questions. Todoroki asks, Flow X13 4070. The Flow X13 4070 and ZenBook 14 Pro's 4070 offer similar things, but with better value and performance. Interesting take. I do think that if you're after a pure gaming setup, that those offer a take that allows you to have more performance on the laptop as you go. But the thing is, those laptops don't have dual displays. And that's really what makes this Yoga Book 9i special. The dual display aspect is really what you're after when you go for the Yoga Book 9i. You see, like, if you're a particular gamer, you love a certain game, like I used to play Black Desert Online, I would have loved this Yoga Book 9i. I would play games on the top screen while watching something on the bottom screen. I would do that all the time. And I may still do that, honestly. Like I've got Illuvium is coming out, the game I love Illuvium, and that would be a perfect game to grind on, to zoom around on while watching a TV show, and this would probably do that really, really well. As long as Illuvium could actually be cloud streamed from some source or something, or maybe, yeah, because I don't think it's going to play natively on this hardware very well. So, well, maybe it might. because it is designed for mobile. I don't know. I have to test it and find out. Maybe it would play okay, but yeah, native gameplay is going to be much more limited on this compared to those systems. Professor says these are more cost. Oh yeah, the Flow X13 and ZenBook 14 Pro do cost more. I believe they cost more than $2,000 if you're getting a 4070 version, especially. But yeah, Kenny Sponto says crazy. I don't recommend an eGPU. It's losing GPU performance so much. Just an option with T4. So Thunderbolt 4. Yeah. So another option you could consider if you're going to have this thing docked when you're at home, you could get an external eGPU. Using a Thunderbolt 4 port, it is entirely possible, and you could get serious gameplay out of it in those situations. You could play at the native 2.8K resolution on the displays, or use an external monitor to play when you're docked at home. And that could be a great option if you're more of a casual gamer, but eGPUs do cause serious CPU bottlenecking, and it's not great for competitive games because your 1% lows do tend to be quite a bit lower when you're using an eGPU. That said, it's obviously going to be light and day difference, massively more performance than what you're going to see in the native Intel Xe GPU. But when you weigh that against cloud gaming's way more convenient and a lot cheaper to get into because you can play cloud gaming for free or for like anywhere from like $10 to $20 per month if you pay for the premium services. And you get access to a ton of games when you do that too. So you're like paying for the service like $120 to $200 a year, and you're also getting a massive library of games when you do that. And you can always switch between the different services to, if you play all the good games on one service, switch to another service and get another 300 games for $10 a month or whatever. So, yeah, this laptop's target audience is business. Yeah, I think business, casual, and college students are the primary target here. But I just want to make it clear that serious casual gamers, like gamers who play games all the time, but they play more casual AAA style titles, could totally love this laptop as well because of the dual display functionality. Okay. Todoroki says, no AMD CPU, headphone jack, and 120 hertz screen. It makes this a no-go. For a serious gamer who especially wants to play competitive games, I would tend to agree with you. For casual gamers, they can still have a great experience with this. No problem. If you just play Elden Ring or God of War or something, yeah, it's going to be great on here. So if you use cloud gaming experience, especially if you use cloud gaming. So yeah, so that's my take on the Lenovo Yoga Book 9i. This thing is awesome. For the right person, it's really awesome. It's hard not to recommend it. Like, there's not massive glaring flaws with it. The ports are going to be a bit annoying because there's no USB-A, but if you get the right peripherals that use USB-C or you get the right dock, it's not that big of a deal, right? So you get a Thunderbolt 4 dock, you're good to go at home, and then when you're on the road, you just get USB-C peripherals or Bluetooth peripherals, and then it's totally fine. It's just you're gonna have to get a new mouse or a new whatever and it comes with that. It comes with a mouse, so that's not that big a deal. Yeah. Casual gamers don't care about high refresh rate. OLED low latency is better. Even casual gamers can care about low, high refresh rate and low latency. Obviously, it's best to have both. But for casual gamers, as long as you're getting 60 FPS on a 60 FPS screen, like I played games for like 10 years on 60 hertz displays, and it was awesome. And then I got 144 hertz, and it was even more awesome, right? So like, it's totally possible to have a great experience at 60, but it's obviously better if you have more, especially if you're playing fast twitch response rate types of games. It makes a huge difference. JR Junior R says, what's your next laptop stream? Hopefully the ZenBook Pro 14 versus Lenovo Yoga 9i 4070. Well, there is no Lenovo Yoga 9i 4070, but the ZenBook 14 Pro would be a laptop I would love to review. So I'm gonna have to get Asus to send that over to me. There seems to be a lot of people talking about that one, and it seems to be a pretty interesting one as well. But the next live streams that I'm probably going to do are going to be a couple of the other more portable laptops, probably the Zephyrus G14 versus Stealth 14. I'm going to test them at the same resolution because we didn't test them at the same resolution last time. I also have the MSI GE78HX coming up as well, the benchmark stream from now on. So, is this something that's comfortable to use on your lap, or is it a tiny desk like the ones in school? So on a tiny desk, it should be fine. It's very stable. But on your lap, you can't have it be, right? Like if you're in full laptop mode right here, or like full double screen mode, you can't have this be in your lap, right? Because, you know, if I point this at my lap here, it's just not going to work like this. There's nothing for this. There's nothing to stand on here. So if you want it to be on your lap, you put it on your lap like this, all right? And then from here, you can either do the keyboard that's digital, all right? And you have a touchpad, you can use this, just like this, all right? Or you can pop this down and it turns into a full laptop-like experience. You can put your hands on the wrist rest right here without touching it, and you can use this just like this. Now, I showed all the different functionalities and methods and ways you can use this earlier in the live stream, so be sure to check that out. And but yeah, it's really cool. Really cool multifunctionality device, right? Because you can also flip this around and be a tablet, right? You got a tablet now, and it disables this other screen automatically, and then you got a tablet you can hold just like a normal, like, you know, full tablet experience. It also makes it a little bigger on the Windows, so it's easier to tap with your fingers. So, anyway. So that's the Lenovo Book 9i. We're going to end the stream there. I hope you guys found this stream super helpful for anyone that's considering buying this. Again, link in the description down below if you decide to pick up the Lenovo Book 9i. Thank you so much for everyone that's tuned into the live stream. Please drop a like on the live stream, and be sure to check out earlier in the live stream if you just got here, because we went over all the details, tested a bunch of games, tested the CPU, ran Timespy, tested the displays, tested the speakers, tested the webcam. We tested it all. This thing is, I think, a very legit Ultrabook and a really awesome device to use. Okay. We'll see you guys in the next one.